Hello and welcome to Transformation Now. Hi, I'm Rita Rocker, speaker, author, and trainer with SoaringHigher.rocks, and very privileged and happy to be here today. What I'm going to be sharing with you are some powerful things from my newest book that will be going to the publisher soon, and that is Miracle in Your Mirror, Pursuing Your Passion at Any Age. And you know, when I first started working on this, my intention was to be more for mature women. And then I realized, men have the same lives. I've talked to some teenagers lately in high school. And you know what? It doesn't matter if we're 16 or 60 or 80 or whatever the case may be. We all have passions in our lives, things that maybe we've wanted to do since we were a child, and yet life seemed to get in the way, things happened, and we never really accomplished that. We never really was able to complete that passion, that thing that was so in our heart. It's been in our heart maybe, most of our lives. And so I really want to share with you some deep thoughts on ways to continue to focus on reaching the accomplishment of that goal, that passion, no matter how old you are, where you are in life, if you have had a good life, a struggling, terrible life, whatever the case may be, there's a purpose for each one of us because God's given us a special purpose that's been in our heart, in our minds for a long time. So what I'm going to do is just share with you from my book and read a little bit, and then I'll go back and be able to talk to you about some of the things that have really come to my mind about that I believe would be helpful. And so one of the chapters is called Sink, Swim, or Float, Surviving the Tidal Waves of Life. Now we know in a tidal wave, that's something that's going to come in and could sweep things away, knock things down, whatever. If it's strong enough, it could do that. Or, even if it's tidal waves on sand, it might just push everything out and, kind of knock everything down. So we all have tidal waves in our life that happen. And I know right now there's so many things going on in the world that, yes, there's a lot of tidal waves that are happening right now. And we have to stand strong and walk through those and not give up, no matter what it looks like, no matter how far we may seem like we are from those goals. And so it says, today, are you sinking, swimming, or floating? What has happened to you up until now that has put you in one of these three pools? And sometimes we'll go back and forth between those pools depending on what happens to us along the way. What will it take to bring you from gasping at the bottom of the lake to powerfully racing across the pool of life? Okay, you think about that. A lot of times we feel like we're gasping, like we just, not getting enough air to really go through the day because of things that are happening. And so think about that. It's kind of like we feel like we're gasping at the bottom of the lake and we can't hold on anymore. One of my books is called Hope at the End of Your Rope, Steps to Rebuild Your Life. And so you think about being at the end of the rope and maybe like, oh, I'm just drowning. What's going on in my life right now? But instead, we want to be able to powerfully race across that pool of life. And we can do that. I've seen so many testimonies, and I know I've shared those in other programs, of people who, swimmers, was one guy, didn't have any arms or legs. People that, how can you swim across the lake of life and race across the pool when you don't have legs, you don't have arms, you have all these other things, maybe you're incapacitated and your life is being run by how you can blow into a straw in your wheelchair because you can't move anything. And yet people do that. They're still racing across the pool of life and not letting life hold them down. And so think about that. So let us explore your transition from drowning in a sand pit, which sometimes we feel like we're in, of life, to swimming for the gold, to continue going. When people swim for the gold, when people compete for any gold medals, they work hard, they focus, and they keep at it. And maybe they sprain an ankle or injure a part of their body or something like that. What do? They keep getting up, they keep going. And going forward, I've seen people put basketball or other sports where their legs don't work or they don't have it, but yet they're doing out there with the Olympic-sized programs where they're doing what they can with what they have. And we can all do that with what we have. And so think about that. And it's time to mentally inflate your arms with strength. Okay, a lot of times we have to strengthen our arms, which also means strengthening our minds, no matter what's going on, to put fins of faith on your feet, as I say. You know, keep our feet going, keep running forward. And sometimes we stop and we, have to stand back a little bit. But think of that, fins of faith in your feet to keep going. And then don the goggles of commitment to your vision. Okay, so what are you seeing? When you put on those goggles of life, what are you seeing? Are you seeing yourself in the same place where you have been? Or are you sitting there visualizing what you could be, what you want to do? Everybody, it seems like that's super successful, said no, they take time to visualize what they're doing, winning the gold, winning a crown. I was watching Miss America the other night, and thinking about that. Or whatever it is, winning a relationship, winning in the race of finally getting out of poverty and getting their own home. So what are we seeing with those goggles of life? It will make all the difference in the world, because if we continue to see the world through goggles that are not very positive, we keep getting more of the same. We keep pulling in the same. And I know that for a fact in my own life. And catapult yourself over every hurdle. You think of hurdlers, you think of people in the Olympics, they're out in the field and they're catapulting over things. Do you know how many times they have fallen? They've knocked down the pole, they've hurt themselves, they have felt like, oh, I'm clearing the back, everybody else is better than me. But no, they kept at it. They kept at it to get over those hurdles. And just like when people are in sports or anything in life, that pertains to our everyday life as well. So, and then I said, like diving into the glistening pool of strength. We build up strength in our body by working it out and taking care of it. We build strength in our mind and our spirit by working through issues, working it out, visualizing, doing the mental exercises, the prayer, the spiritual part, in order to build up that strength. Dignity. I didn't have a whole lot of dignity for many years of my life. But then I realized, you know what? I'm just as good as everybody else. You're just as good as everybody else. So dignity comes from who we are made in God's image. That's everything. Power and just limitless hope. Again, we have to visualize those things. And it's like, well, why do I even want to visualize that? I don't have the money. I don't have the education. I don't have this, that, or whatever. Or I'm stuck in a relationship, or I'm stuck in caregiving with somebody that I really love, but I can't get out. True. There are a lot of things in life that will hold us back, but you can still visualize, and as you do, doors can open for people to come and help, for programs to come along that will teach you the skills that you need. So never stop visualizing, because that's where your strength and your power and your total mindset will come from, so that one day it actually becomes a reality. And I've seen that in so many testimonies with hundreds of people as I've watched throughout the years. So it's visualizing and having a limitless hope. And that starts with visualizing, talking to ourselves out loud or quietly when you get those negative thoughts. I can't do it. No, you can do it. So think about that. So something I'd like to say is, if you feel like a fish out of water, stop, change directions. Find a new river to swim in. Be who you were designed to be, and don't deny yourself. Develop yourself. And so I think about, find a new river to swim in. Is that new river letting go of certain relationships and looking for a new one? Is it money? More money, because you're changing some of the ideas, the thoughts in your head. Praying about new opportunities for doors to open for a better career, or to use your skills and the talents that you have in coaching, entrepreneurship, whatever the case may be. And then new relationship, health. If there's health issues, a lot of health issues are actually from more mental, emotional things that have happened and tear our bodies down. And then there's just plain a lot of things going on with health. So again, find a new river to swim in. Maybe it's better eating. I know I'm trying to do that too. Eating healthier, because so much of the stuff in the store is just bioengineered things that's very unhealthy for us. And so think about what you can do. Maybe it's just walking around the living room 10 minutes a night, just something to get you started in a different direction. So be who you were designed to be. And that doesn't mean who a parent or a coach or teacher or someone else thinks we should be designed to be. It doesn't mean, oh, I have to compete with a brother or sister or this, kid in my class. No, and it may be something you don't even really like that well. No, you do what makes you light up, what makes you feel alive, because that's what you are called to do. You see, when you come alive and you love it and you think about it and you brighten up, that's when you know that's an area that you're called to do that you're good in, because it just instills so much life in you and it just jumps in your spirit. And so don't deny yourself, develop yourself. Why do we deny ourselves? I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough. Again, and I've said this before, maybe it's the education, maybe it's what people have said. So we deny ourselves the privilege of being able to experience that. No, don't deny yourself what God's given you gifts for and abilities and talents and what lights up your life. Do not deny yourself. You are more than worthy, more than deserving to go after what it is that's really in your heart. Then develop yourself. And again, that's with doing the things that are necessary. When we develop our bodies, we have to work at it. When we develop our skills, abilities, we have to work at it. Unfortunately, it won't come while we sit on the couch and watch movies. I probably spend, what time I do spend with television, I'd say 90% of it is on YouTube. I'm learning a lot of things. I've been watching these programs called Stoics, and it's kind of like the old Roman philosophers and Greek philosophers, and very masculine, soothing voice. It shows all these statues that are pretty unreal. And but if you watch the Stoics, you see a lot of things, you hear a lot of things, and it's like, oh my gosh, yes, this is the way I need to be. This is the way I need to think. These are the things I need to cut off, whatever it is. And it really makes sense when you watch that, because you realize things that can be changed, can be switched around because of listening and then doing the practices that it's really amazing. It really is. And so many of these philosophers were from way, way back, a few centuries ago. And yet what they're saying is amazing. And so I would highly encourage you even to watch some of those Stoics programs on YouTube. And then there are also some awesome people on there. Kind of have to listen and make judgments, on relationships, male and female relationships especially, but just different areas you can learn, diet, intermittent fasting. I'm watching all this stuff on health even to feel better, to feel stronger. So I would really encourage you, yes, it's fun to just sit down once in a while and numb the mind with a movie like I did the other night. It was a silly movie, but it made me laugh a lot. And so, yes, we need to do that, but then we don't want to spend the whole night just watching television when we could be learning and growing, and it's fascinating. It really is. So I'd really encourage you to do that, or look up programs, again, on the internet for the subject that you want to learn. You want to learn new things in business. You want to learn new things to make your mind grow, especially as we get older. We really need to do that. You want to learn things that are fun. I have a niece who's, pretty much tied to home because of physically, and she's getting even more depressed because it's like she's not really out with people. And, her sister talked to her long distance, said, well, why don't you get on some of the things where you can do Zoom. You can do a Zoom program, get on, programs where you're seeing other people's faces. So you're not just looking at four walls. You're seeing people's faces. You contribute to them. You learn from them. You can laugh. You can cry. You can do whatever. And so I'd highly encourage any of you who are kind of stuck in a lot of ways and maybe you can't get out very much, get on some of those programs. Google, find them and join YouTube, Zoom programs. Well, YouTube too, you can get a lot of those, Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi and Mastermind. Oh my gosh, you can get on those programs where you can actually interact with people like that. You want to do that. You're not having to go out of the house. You are just interacting with people. You're learning. You're seeing so much energy. and that will build you up a lot, and you haven't set your foot out the door. So think about that too, and what can you get involved in? And I'm going to be bugging my niece to say, hey, what are you doing? Have you gotten on any of those programs yet where you can actually have some interaction with people so you're not lonely all the time? You're not sitting there being depressed because your mind is actively working on other things that you can do, that you can enjoy, that you can learn. And so I think that's so important that we do that. And so again, you know, there's experiences, there's always a trigger that pulls us back. And I've shared mine before about when I was 5 and my dad said he didn't care if I was really sick, my mom take me on the bus. He had more important things to do. He had to go to Grand Island to the horse races, and so he did. But again, that implanted in my little mind that I was worthless. I wasn't worth the time of day. He didn't have time to bother with me. And even though that's so minor compared to so many people and so many kids in the world, and I realized that, it set an emotion in my brain that I was unworthy, so I quit everything I started all the time. Why do we do that? Because we're so afraid of being rejected or abandoned or being a failure at something, so we just quit before we have the time to prove it. And really, it's wrong. It's wrong thinking. But I see that a lot in people. And, you know, I've been working especially with women to help them realize no matter what's happened to them, or maybe it's a lot of abuse like I experienced, and then you think, oh gosh, you know, I guess that is all I'm worth. I don't deserve any better. I'm not going to try to look for new things in life. That's kind of my, that's the way life is. No, it's not the way it is. And so think about that. And, you know, because otherwise there'll be triggers that come to us. It could be an old song. It could be somebody says something or does something that brings back a memory in your head about something that happened to you. And then it can pull you back into that same pit, you know, that drowning kind of feeling, and, you know, causes a lot of hopelessness. So you don't want to do that. Okay, so triggers, when a trigger happens, they happen all the time. I have triggers happen to me, bring me back to something. I've really been fighting that a lot lately to finally let go of that and move forward. But again, don't let those triggers put you back into a place where you're thinking about it, you're visualizing it, you're experiencing it all over again. It's over, it's done with. And we should never allow ourselves to continue experiencing that in our minds and the effect that it would do to us or on us. And so, you know, we have to really, really be careful about that. Otherwise, what happens? We sabotage our futures because we can't get out of that grip. And so never let that happen. You know, it was probably about a month ago, I was watching something on YouTube. I don't remember what it was. And I heard somebody talking about somatics. And so I thought, that sounds interesting. So when I looked up somatics, it actually is like your brain, your nervous system. You know, it's just connected to everything. And so your nervous system has a lot to do with, you know, what your subconscious mind, what's going on in your subconscious, because we're run mainly by our subconscious rather than the conscious things that we're aware of and that we're actually doing. And the subconscious, you know, doesn't know if you're telling the truth or not. So a lot of people that are really successful say, you know what? You've got to train your subconscious to get rid of all the garbage in there so you confess good things and think positive things constantly. And so their subconscious, our subconscious, I guess, doesn't even know the difference between if something is true or not. It just assumes it's true because that's what's going through our brain. That's what's going through, you know, our minds at the time. And so if you really concentrate on that, eventually the subconscious believes all these good things, all these power things that you can do, and it starts letting go of all that other stuff because you're not entertaining that anymore. And so, you know, you really want to think about that because that will help you stop sabotaging yourself. And what I realized was that through studying somatics, thinking about the nervous system, how it affects the brain and our behaviors and our physical body in so many ways, I came to this almost shocking revelation just a couple weeks ago that back in the far back recesses of my subconscious, I had PTSD back there that I had never owned up to, had never dealt with. And I was like, oh my gosh, but I realized it was true. So then what do? When you think of the acronym PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and you get tears in your eyes, okay, there's something there that needs to be booted out. And so I've worked on that to try to realize, as the Bible says, old things are passed away, all things are becoming new. And so I realized, whoa, I never dealt with that. And that's why I've made some of the choices I have. And it's like, out of here. And so think about that. Think about, study somatics. You can find anything on YouTube again, or even Googling it. And think about being a stoic, and think about things that will really push you forward far beyond what you think you could. And it's worth the time. It's quite an awakening experience, and it's valuable. It is so valuable to do that. So then there won't be that temptation when you have triggers come up to say, well, I guess I'll just put up with how this person's treating me. I guess I'll just stay in this totally dead job that I hate. No, that starts motivating you and inspiring you to go forward, to move on and get your power that is within you to do that. And so always think about, anything that's locked in your brain, pray about it. What else is in my brain? What is back there that I need to get out that maybe I really didn't even know was there? And you start thinking about it, you start concentrating, you start praying about it. It's like, bam, that's what happened to me. And it's like, oh, okay. That's why some things were going the way they were. It's because I had to let go of all that trauma. And it's powerful. So think about that. Somatics again. All right. Because even in the womb, and I've heard this several times, people say, if when a woman is pregnant and there's a lot of anger and screaming and negativity and maybe regret that she's pregnant and that kind of things, that literally somehow the cells of the body, the nervous system can penetrate into the baby, where sometimes when a baby is born and they start growing, there's stuff in there from when they were in the womb that's anger, rejection, and it affects them, and it affects their little personalities and their bodies. I know that sounds really weird, but there's been a lot of studies on that prove that can happen. So, other people, maybe there was a baby in there and they try to talk softly or play, different kinds of music, will make an impact on the child as well. So, it really happens before we're born, not just after a child's born and starts hearing and starts seeing things. So that's something important too. When we're not happy with ourselves, we often tend to subconsciously, like I said, attract abusive, critical people to keep reaffirming that we're undeserving of a good life. As I've talked about before, everything is made up of energy, and that's quantum energy. You can study on that, but everything is made up of energy, and what we project out to people is energy, and they feel that. What people project to you, you're going to feel anger, you're going to feel happiness, you're going to feel love, you're going to feel confusion that maybe they're giving off to you. And really pay attention to the energy that you're feeling from other people, because that's what's really going on in their minds. That's how they really feel about something. And then you watch their face, you watch their eyes. I watch eyes very much so, because you see so much in that. But think about the energy. And there's times when I was like negative, angry, unhappy, something like that. And then I went, whoa, what kind of energy am I giving out to whoever I am around? And it's like, no, don't do that. Because even if we don't say anything to that person or those people, they feel that energy. And it says a lot, whether we realize it or not. So we don't want to do that. Think about your energy. Stop yourself. Check yourself a lot. I'm trying to do that too, so that it comes off positive and not looking all glumpy, grumpy, and whatever else may come along. So always think about that. When we look at what has been produced over time, did our negative relationships or decisions of any kind provide any kind of physical, spiritual, and emotional nourishment that fed us with love and support? That is a huge question, and one that should take some time to think about, whether you're in the bathroom taking the shower, where you got in bed and you're just lying quietly because that's the only time you could think, whatever the case may be, think about that. Over time, did those negative experiences or relationships provide any physical benefit or not? There can be some really detrimental things happening physically, but in a lot of different ways. Did it provide anything good, anything positive or not? And yet on the flip side of that, a lot of times with positive energy from people, we feel better, we feel healthier, we feel stronger, happier, all those emotions. So what are these things feeding into us physically? What about spiritually? You know, are we angry at God? Do we feel like everything is hopeless and we're not even going to try anymore? So what have all these things done to me spiritually in my spirit? You know, some people say they're more religious, more spiritual. I'm a Christian, you know, but what are they feeding to you spiritually? A lot of times I just have to escape into prayer and put on praise music for me personally, because that's what will help give me peace and pull me out of wherever I happen to be in here. And so think of that. What have these things done to you spiritually? If you really stop to think about what they have done, wow. I mean, that's like a whole picture of your life kind of, and what's been happening, what's been going on, and what needs to stop. And then emotionally, okay? You know, emotionally, good emotions, painful emotions, bad emotions, what has been going on with your emotions? Because again, emotions will talk to people, they'll say everything to them. So think about, why am I emotionally always so upset? Or why am I so happy all the time? Why do I feel confident? What's going on with your emotions? Stop and think about that. And then, you know, any kind of nourishment that you're feeding you with love and support. Because researchers, again, believe that what we hold on to negative feelings, sad emotions, and depressing memories, there's the possibility to reshape the human self to the point where the past negativity will affect our cells, our physical body, neurologically. It could be cancer, it could be debilitating. And so always think of that and tell yourself, hey, this is a no-fly zone, okay? This is a no-fly zone. And we'll talk about that more in the next program, but just remember that only good things can fly through here. Everything else, no-fly zone. God bless you. See you again next time.